if the only thing you change in business is that your integrity, basically doing what you say you're going to do, your productivity goes up 500%.
Are you a high-performing business owner wanting to double your revenue? But maybe you suffer from shiny object syndrome, feeling scattered as you chase the next great idea. Often wondering if you have the right goals and plan with all the thousands of options and strategies available to you. Welcome to Extraordinary Focus with David Wood, where we help you get the laser focus you need so you can double your revenue, achieve way more in less time, and be a more extraordinary entrepreneur and human. Let's dive in and stay tuned for your gift at the end.
Welcome to an episode of Extraordinary Focus with David Wood and
the Derek Loudermilk Show.
That's right. So Derek had a radical idea. He said to me, instead of me interviewing you or you interviewing me, which we've done before quite successfully, he said, let's discuss how to be unstoppable. Let's riff on it so that entrepreneurs, leaders, parents, partners, and humans can get a real takeaway that they can be unstoppable in life and business.
And when you and I get together, we're always just sort of batting around interesting ideas. You know, I'm learning a lot from you. This is your 5th appearance on the show, still holding the record. So
yes.
You know, gosh, so this is really interesting. You were the guest back in episode 49 and 50, or 48 and 49. And your concept in that episode was, you know, here's how to start a coaching business. Here's how to turn what you know into sort of a book. And I've taken the concepts from that episode, and now I have a coaching business. Now I have a book based on what I've learned in the podcast. I've really taken many of the things that you were talking about in that episode, and now they're a reality. So I think it's really cool to reflect on. I didn't even know at the time that was going to happen, but
wow,
yeah.
I love hearing that. And what I want people to know about you, I think you're one of the smartest people I know. Until the tests are in, we won't actually know, but that's my suspicion. And Derek was standing with me, and this totally fits in with being unstoppable, standing with me on the balcony of my villa in Bali. And I was complaining. I said, dude, and we were about to record your podcast episode, right?
Yep.
And it might have been the first podcast interview I did. And I've now done 140. So Derek was my first, and we're standing on the balcony, and I'm complaining. I said, look at that pool down below. Every morning I get out here and I want to be able to just get straight in that pool. I want to teleport, and I can't. In fact, I climbed over the railing, climbed over the tiles, and I broke a tile on the roof. And I did manage to jump in the pool, but it was just awkward. And you paused for about a second and then went, you need a slide.
Well, so most people would just stop there. You'd be like, oh, that would be so cool if that was true. And that would be the end of the conversation. But then you were like, well, how do I manufacture a slide? And I remember, you know, you posting the picture of like you with the local engineers, like measuring and trying to retrofit a slide under the side of a roof.
Yeah.
Which
it wasn't anything I'd seen before. And you mentioned it. I'm like, a slide would be so amazing. I could like just straight out. So I went to a place that does fabrication of fiberglass, and I told them what I wanted, and they did slides for pools. They just didn't do it on roofs, right? And the cost was prohibitive, but I kept on looking and like, what could we do? And he's like, wait a minute. And I think this was in Indonesian we're talking. So it was a little bit stilted. And we go into the back room, and he found a mold that looked like it might just fit. And he said, if this works, we could use this mold and it'd be quite inexpensive. So I think it cost me about $1,000 in the end, or maybe six to 800, including installation. That was the tricky bit. You didn't want the roof to collapse. So we did it. And you know what? It was a little bit dodgy, I got to say too, Derek, because
you shot off to the end of that slide pretty quick.
You shot off, and there were two problems. One, the pool wasn't that deep. it was probably about 5 to 6 feet deep, but when you're coming from a great height, that's not that deep. So I would go in and you'd kind of hit the bottom a little bit. And then the other problem was if you really shot out, you could go within a foot of the far wall of the pool. And it was a little bit dodgy, but it was an
Things
exercise.
you would never get away with in a country like the United States.
Yeah.
All the regulation would.
You always wouldn't do
all
it,
that yeah.
But no one sues anyone in Bali, as far as I know. Anyway, that was one exercise in being unstoppable. I'm curious for you, what are a couple of things in your life where you did not say no and you did not get stopped and you kept on going and you're glad that you did?
Well, you know the first thing that's coming to mind actually is this year I sort of accidentally became the state champion of cycling, and we didn't really race much.
Accidentally?
Accidentally,
did you trip over somebody?
Well, I didn't win the race because there was people that were in a different state that came in to race and they finished ahead of me. And then there's a guy in a different age group so I was actually like 5th or 6th in the race, but I won the gold medal in the state jersey.
Wow.
So it was sort of like, that's why I call it accidentally. But the reason why I won, and I actually didn't believe that I would win, was because normally the state championships are held on a really hilly course, and I'm a heavier rider. So I don't usually have a good chance, but they moved the course because of the pandemic to a flat, windy course, which suits me. And as soon as I saw that, I was like, that's mine. I'm going to win. That's mine. And what I've noticed is that whenever I have that level of conviction, whenever I feel like it's already mine, like this house that I bought a year ago, when I was staying at your place last year, we were just putting our offer in on the house. I remember, and I was like, that's my house. I'm going to get it. It's already done. And whenever I've had that experience of just knowing that the thing that I want is already in the bag, it comes true. And there's this force of will, because even then, right, I still had to do the training. I still had to go to the race. I still had to prepare properly and fuel and like not get dropped and race hard and all that stuff. But even the photo finish, it wasn't worrying me because I was like, that's mine. That jersey is mine. And so there's something to that. And I think a lot of people want something. They say, oh, I want to earn 6 figures or 7 figures, or want a Lamborghini or something. And there's some doubt in their mind. They're like 90% behind what they're going for. But when you have 100% conviction, it's so much easier to just be who you need to be and get the thing that you want.
Right. So I like that you've gone there, because mindset, I think, is critical. And it's been said your life is as good as your mindset. And so what I'm hearing for you is that you were assuming it was already a done deal. For you, it was, that's mine. That's my jersey. And a friend of mine, John Webster, was really excited about the concept of something being inevitable. He said he would just view it as, this is inevitable. It will happen. I don't know exactly the time frame, but it will happen. And then his energy was able to open and relax with that. So I like that you went there. And hearing that had me think about a client of mine. His name's Sam, and an amazing entrepreneur. He buys businesses and builds them up. That's what he does. And what was exciting for him was he was already doing well, but he would get stopped, as most people do. The reason I think we get stopped is because everyone else is getting stopped. So it's just what you do. But when he got the concept of, like, the question that I asked him was, well, what would it take? I'm not pushing you. I'm just asking you, what would it take to actually move through and get that done? And his brain just went on, fired up. And actually that is exciting to me because the brain does fire up. When you ask, what would it take instead of stopping? Then the brain fires up and comes up with all sorts of ideas. And now he says to me, I eat problems for breakfast. I got a lot of problems. What I'm doing is hard, but now I don't care. Now I like it. It was a mindset shift to say, all right, this looks undoable. What's it going to take for us to do it? And we keep going until we find something. And maybe not always, right? Maybe sometimes we're like, hey, this is going to be too much effort. I am not going to put in what it's going to take. Fair enough. Let's not just stop at the first 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 times something gets hard.
Well, so what I see that you did there is you aimed his attention in a different direction, and he was focusing on how hard it was, presumably, and then you pointed his attention to just how to actually get what you want.
Yeah, and that's one of the most powerful coaching questions I think that was ever created. What would it take? So, for example, he had a vendor who was a real pain in the ass. Just would make commitments and then not follow through on them, and he's constantly chasing. And I said, well, what would it look like in your ideal world? Like what could they do that would have them be a wonderful partner? That was the first question. Let's create it. And so he wrote it down, and his mind's still saying, yeah, but they're not going to do it. I said, well, we're not there yet. Let's just create what would it look like. Then once he had that, like, what do you think it would take for them to step into that space? He's like, wow. And then we did a role play, and he went and he had a conversation with them. He ended up, I think they did better. And then he fired them. And then he got someone who was totally up for communicating with him in the way he wanted. I'm guessing you know what it's like, Derek, when you're chasing someone for something. They said that they'll do it by Thursday, and then Friday comes and Saturday comes, and hey,
and
what's going on?
Neither side likes it. It's like they know they're not living up to it, and it's like there's the resistance that comes from, like, well, I'm just going to dig my heels in even more sometimes.
Yeah. It sucks for everybody. So I think we just went into a nice little tangent about being unstoppable around communication. I've got a really basic example. I've got a virtual assistant, or I did until 2 days ago when I did need to let her go. But I would ask a question like, hey, where did you get this from? She wrote an email saying I'd been on Seth Godin's show. And I said, I'm really curious, where did you get that from? And she started to give me an explanation of something related. She's like, oh, well, I can see that this is a problem and we need to fix this and whatever. So if you could tell me how to do it right, I'll do it. And I'm like, thank you. And would you answer my question? And she said, oh, I see that I've made a mistake doing this. I won't make that again. I said, thank you. Do you have the question? Hey, now I see you laughing, right? But I did a 2-day communication course on this shit. And I've never had to say to someone in the 20 years since I did the course, do you have the question? That was part of the exercise. And I realized that's what was missing here. So I said, thank you. Do you have the question? Then she went back, found the question, and answered it. That's an exercise in being unstoppable in communication. And then I said, let's get on a call because I'm really fascinated by this. I seem to be asking for an apple and I get an orange. Let's find out what's going on because I want to work with you long-term. And we got on the call and I had her do an exercise from the course. I said, I want you to ask me over and over, do fish swim? That's the question. And then whatever I say, I want you to say thank you and repeat the question if you don't have the answer you want. Now, she wasn't able to follow those instructions, so that was good information. But she did ask the question over and over and over again. She'd say, do fish swim? I'd say, fish are wonderful. She'd go, thank you. Do fish swim? I'd say, birds fly so well. She said, thank you. Do fish swim? I said, it's so great to see you. She's like, thank
If
you.
I were her, I would be like, what is this? You're employing me to ask you a fish? Like, what is going on?
I was paying her for this. But she got it. Finally, I answered the question. And then I said, so what did you get from that exercise? She said, I got that to be you communicating with me must be very frustrating. Yeah. So there's, that's a bit of a tangent, but that's an exercise in being unstoppable. Vic Baronco started an organization called the Morehouse. And he said, I was going to say before he passed, but that's kind of the only time you can say something. He said, it takes one to tango. It takes one person to guarantee communication.
That's when you have good communication techniques or skills, when the other person doesn't have to know them, and you can still, because I encounter this all the time. People have sometimes amazing sort of, let's say, emotional vocabulary, and other people, right? You ask them how they're feeling, and they're like, here's my next 12 months plans. We're like, oh, that's not really a feeling, but they're, so there's a whole range of skill and vocabulary. But if you can lead the communication without them having to know anything, that's quality.
Yeah, I like your example. It's so true. I sometimes, I grew up not knowing I had a body. And I know that sounds weird, but I was, and still am, very cerebral. My first inclination will be a thought and probably a solution, okay, a complaint, solution. But I've since learned that there's a lot more information available. It's not just the thinking, there's the emotional being. There might be sensation. Like now I have if I check in with myself, I have a sense of anticipation and excitement being here with you, and also a sense of camaraderie. And I don't know if those are emotions, but that's more than just thinking. And then in my body, I feel some tension in my back, like I could use a stretch, and it's like tingling in my hands. So I've become aware that there's a lot more information. So I will ask my clients often, how are you in this moment? If you scan your system for thoughts, emotions, or sensations, what do you notice?
Yeah.
Clearly I'm being very directive, and still often it's just thinking. It's like, well, I've had go straight to the past. I've had a bit of a rough day. This happened, and then this happened, and I've been trying to work how to, right? They go straight into the past and maybe the future. And so I'll try and gently bring them back. And I'll try and be unstoppable gently in, what do you notice right now? If you just close your eyes for a second, if you're willing, what's your body telling you? It's so new for people.
And what you're talking about is like living in the past or the future, and it's pulling them away from the present moment, which is really the only time you can do anything. And so these, like, even sometimes if I'm giving a talk and I can see that like I'm losing people, I'll just like okay, bring your awareness to your toes in your shoes or something. Like just like feel yourself inhabiting your body, like in physical 3D space. Like you realize like you're a person in a room, in a chair, and and there's this actual inhabiting of space.
What do you think is the benefit of learning to be unstoppable for a business owner, which you are? What are some scenarios in which you feel like this would be really practical?
Honestly, I'm still stuck on the 4 coaches. I mean, that's phenomenal.
It was 5.
Maybe we could just 5 coaches?
It was 5, if I'm being honest. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well, if we can circle back to your question in a second, but so you're a coach. You've had many coaches in the past, and you talked about like, okay, I'm committed to these things, and I know commitment is one of your like components of being unstoppable and hiring coaches. We talked about these 6 C's of being unstoppable. But my question is, do you really need all those coaches if you've already had all the coaching? Like, why did you feel the need to do that?
Well, it came from having no coaching for a while. So I'd been going solo, which, I'm pretty independent, and I generally tend to do well alone. But I spoke to a friend of mine who had 4 coaches, and she's doing great. She's like, her business is on fire, her energy's on fire, everything's great. And she spends, I think it was 15 grand a month, might be 12, but it was thousands of dollars a month on coaches. And I'm like, on one coach? She's like, no, I've got coaches for different aspects of my life that I'm committed to improving. And it had me realize, like, yeah, I need to walk my talk. I'm doing really well on my own. What could I do with a coach? So I've been coaching for 20 years, and I'm in my patterns, and I think I know everything. So hubris and arrogance is something to really watch out for. And I thought, all right, let's try some humility and go and learn some new stuff. So I went and signed up for a program, and there are live calls. So I consider the guy who runs that as one of my coaches, even though we're not doing any one-on-ones. And then I was on a podcast with a dating coach, and she needed some branding help. And I'm like, I'm great at branding, and I'm just starting to date now. I think it's time to get on some apps. It's time to let the world know about the extraordinary woman I want to attract into my life. And one of us said, maybe we should do a trade. So I was like, all right, that makes sense. And then someone had suggested energy healing. I don't know much about energy, not consciously anyway. And I thought, that's one thing I haven't really tried. It seems a bit woo-woo to me, but all right, let's do it. Or maybe there's something about my chi or my chakras or whatever that's not working. So I committed to that. I said to my men's group, I will do that. And then there was an accountability program that just popped up. So I was working with a therapist too, who I think is amazing, and I thought could be a really good guide. And he suggested this accountability group. And I didn't really want it for myself, because I've done Landmark Education, which is a training program. And I kind of resisted the whole being your word and following through on every single thing you say you're going to do. But I know a lot of my clients have been wanting accountability. And so I thought, let me do this 8-week program. And so I had a coach every week as part of that program. And that got me fired up about this being unstoppable, because as part of the program, you would commit to your 7-day goals, and you could choose. This was what sold me. You could choose which are going to be A goals and which will be B goals. Now, the B goals are like everybody else's goals. You shoot for them. Maybe you do them. Maybe you don't. The A goals, if you don't achieve them by the 7 days, there's a consequence. And with my clients in my program, if you don't achieve your A goals, you pay $5 to someone you really don't like.
I think there's what is it, Stick, STIKK? Is that still going? That web app where you stake the money up front, and then it gets released if you don't do your goals?
Oh, I like that. That's a good way to do it. We just simply pay $5 via PayPal, or, I just say to people, who would you not want to pay $5 to? You'd be amazed at the creativity. One guy's paying $5 to his ex-wife if he does not achieve his A goal. I've got another client who, instead of money, because money doesn't motivate her, she has to call someone she doesn't want to have a conversation with and talk to them for at least 10 minutes, right? I've got another client has to pay $5 to Trump's re-election campaign because they're not a Trump supporter. Another client had to pay $5 to a whaling association. And another client paid $5 to a racist organization in Israel. So they hate doing this. So it really gets the attention.
How often did they actually have to pony up?
Very rarely.
Okay.
Very rarely. There are some clients, And I think I'm one of them, because I have not missed an A goal yet. See, it's not about the money. It's about being unstoppable. That's the game. And I tell them, if you are in a coma, in hospital, you are still on the hook for finishing this A goal. If you lose a loved one, you break a leg, or it suddenly seems impossible, or it's no longer a goal of yours. It doesn't make sense anymore. You don't want to hire a mechanical engineer. You still complete it because you said, because it's not about the goal anymore. It's about an exercise in how do you speak something and then have it occur in the world. That's the game.
I remember reading or hearing research from Harvard that said, if the only thing you change in business is that your integrity, basically doing what you say you're going to do, your productivity goes up 500%.
Wow. That I could see that. There's so many lessons that are coming out of this A game for myself and my clients. One of them is, so yeah, a lot of them start with C. One of them is clarity. You get very careful about what you write down, because once you've declared it, you can't change it. So if you say, I'm going to create a web page and link Form A to Form B to Form C, and what I discovered is that's not going to work. It doesn't work that way. It has to be Form C to Form A to Form B. It doesn't work. And I said to my coach, do I still have to do this shit the wrong way? Can I just do it the right way? And the answer was exactly what it should have been. No, you do it the wrong way because that's how you said it. And next time, be more careful about what you say.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Because I didn't, go ahead.
Well, this is bringing up for me, like words, like we were talking about the question you asked to aim your client's attention. I see this with kids all the time. When you say, like, don't spill the milk, and then they get, like, what do you have to think about not spilling the milk? Well, you have to think about spilling the milk. And this word "don't" has become sort of my biggest pet peeve, because it's like, don't miss hitting that ball. And it's like, well, everybody's going to miss hitting the ball because they're thinking about the thing. And it's just, that becomes such an obvious example of like how your words create the image in your mind, which then makes you do the thing. And so, yeah, being so careful about, I've totally switched. Instead of saying, don't spill the milk, I'll say, you need to use two hands, or you need to set the milk down, or like say the thing you want them to do rather than saying the thing you don't want them to do.
Yeah. 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 The clarity, when you're not playing the A game, if you're just setting normal goals, it doesn't matter if you get the words wrong. It doesn't matter. So you don't have to think about it that much. But once you have something riding on it, and it might be just $5, or it might be just the fact that you're not going to fail on this goal, and so it's important. The clarity becomes important. Also, you got to watch out for time creep, because if you do not, like for me, if I do not put this in my calendar, Wednesday, work on this. Thursday, did you work on it? Sunday, last chance. Tomorrow's the deadline. If I don't put that in my awareness, I could get to the last day and now I've got to do 15 hours straight. Or now it's not possible because I need help from people and they're not available.
Well, yeah, and I think, people, right, they set their year-long goals, and then they're like, oh, I got 12 months, and then they're halfway through the year, like, I still got 6 months. And then with 1 week left, they're like, oh, better hustle and hurry, because they just drug their feet to the last minute.
That's true. Well, this is a pitfall that I'm starting to become aware of in the world. So here's one mistake: to not have goals, right? Not for everybody, but for a lot of people, that's a mistake, to just not declare, this is what I want. Another mistake is to lose the thread of connection between your daily actions and those goals. It's so easy to do. How many of us have written down goals? Maybe they go in the fridge, maybe they go in the drawer, but we don't look at them again until 5 years later. We might find that piece of paper and go, oh, I did some of that. So this, again, Sam, my client, it was almost an epiphany for him. He's like, you know, I say it in the future and it doesn't feel real. I'm like, in 3 years, I want to be earning $3 million. It's not real. But then as he works backwards, he says, well, what do I need to have in 1 year? All right, I need to have this many brands earning this. Okay, what's it going to take to do that? Can I do it? Yeah, it'll be hard, but I can do it. In 3 months, what am I aiming for? Right? Because that starts to make it more real. 12 weeks is not that far away. And then what I have all my clients do is every single week, set your 7-day goals by looking at your 12-week goals. It's 10 minutes. That's all. 10 minutes a week could change your life. To celebrate what you did, look at your 12-week goals and say, what will I take on for this week? And then which of those will be A goals? So there's a consequence. That's another C, right? And which of them will be a B goal? If you just do that.
How many people actually still set B goals?
Pardon?
How much are people actually setting B goals now that they're got this A goal thing going?
It really varies. And that's another thing that I love about this game. Like I had a couple of weeks where I set only B goals. I'm like, I got a lot going on. I don't want any extra pressure. So I'm not going to do it. Then the next week, there were 3 things that had been kind of pushed off a lot. It kept on being pushed back and I knew that it would make a difference in my business. So I made them A goals. I got to tell you, Derek, for a while, it was a pain in the ass. It really was because I didn't put it in my calendar. And so my coach checked in with me on Friday and I'm like, damn it, I spaced. This is a lot of work. I hired 3 people on Friday to help me over the weekend to get my slides outlined overnight, to get a registration page done, to get an order page done. And I put in 9 hours on a Sunday. Wow. I cranked it out because I was unwilling to fail on these A goals. Now, wasn't that pleasant for me, to be honest, but I felt really good Monday that I had achieved it in time. And I could have put it off another month because it was a big, hairy goal for me. Now, I've had clients say, I want to ramp it up. I want to stretch myself. I'm not stretching myself enough. Okay, great. Put some more A goals in. And then another client was like, that was too much. And it was overwhelming that week. I took on too much. All right. Maybe you dial it back a bit. So you're in control of the dial. And I just want to let you know, that's my alarm to say I have a date in 9 minutes. So I love this conversation, but we're going to have to wrap it up with something profound in the next 5 minutes.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's very exciting. You have a date. And
yes.
Also, you know, I think I've been guilty of this myself. And, you know, when people get to that situation where it's like, oh, 9 hours on a Sunday, like, oh, that's not what I had planned. I don't really want to do it now. Even knowing there was some, you know, maybe financial stake or something you didn't want to do, like, was there an act of willpower there that had you do it, or like, what actually led you to being able to complete that?
That's a great question. It was the commitment. It's not the $5. It's the knowing in my bones that I am unwilling to fail at the A goal. And so I was walking around the house saying, David, what are you missing? This looks too hard. What's it going to take? And so I hired somebody to do the slides overnight to give me a start on it because I just didn't want to start it. And then I'm like, I need someone to do this order page. I don't have time. Right? This is the thing about committing. You create a bigger goal. You have to ask yourself new questions like, what would it take? And even then it took 9 hours. And here's one of the other lessons I got. Draft means draft. Because I said I will draft the slides. And yet here I am trying to make them awesome. That's why it took 9 hours. So I got that lesson out of this exercise.
The language part again.
Draft means draft. You could have done the simple version of each slide not this, like you've seen my model. I showed you before we started this. You didn't have to create that. So many lessons. Once you actually commit and play the A game, you will learn things that I don't even know about yet, because you get to see what breaks down and all your resistance comes up. I had one client, he's like, this sucks. This is a stupid game. I'm not going to hire a mechanical engineer just because I said I would. And I said, well, we'll talk about it on our session. By the time we got to our session, he said, I got it. It's not about the goal. It's about how you play the game.
That's a good part to wrap. That's like a quote. Let's wrap with that one. That's how you play the game. Love it.
Yeah. Derek, this has been really fun for me, man. I love hanging out with you, and I'd love to do this again sometime. We can riff on, hacks that we're trying, or we can riff on clarifying your genius. I like hanging out with you.
Yeah, me too. That was fun. And go have a good date. I'm excited for you.
Yeah. Tell people where they should go to find out more about Derek Loudermilk.
Oh, yes. For me, DerekLoudermilk.com, and I host the Derek Loudermilk Show. And it's, got some really exciting guests on there. So check that out, in addition to David, of course. So thank you.
Thanks for listening to Extraordinary Focus with David Wood. Now, to double your revenue, to achieve way more in less time, and to be a more extraordinary entrepreneur and human, make sure you get our gift basket. It includes a cheat sheet with the first step to doubling your revenue, a short video roadmap, and a free double your revenue audit where we identify the low-hanging fruit in your business. To get all three of these goodies, just go to myfocusgift.com. If you got value out of this episode, tell your friends. And nothing says keep up the good work, David, like a review, which helps us climb in the rankings and to reach more listeners. Now, let's be extraordinary.